Why can hundreds of companies manufacture high-performance athletic shoes, yet only a few can make those shoes feel like a statement about who you are? The obvious answer is product quality. Nike became one of the world's most recognizable brands by designing better shoes, signing famous athletes, and spending heavily on advertising. According to this view, customers choose Nike because its products perform well, look distinctive, and carry the approval of elite competitors. That explanation is not wrong, but it is incomplete. Materials can be copied. Designs can be imitated. New cushioning systems eventually become industry standards. Even famous athletes can change sponsors. If Nike's advantage came mainly from product features or celebrity endorsements, competitors should have been able to narrow the gap much more easily. Yet the meaning attached to the swoosh has survived countless product cycles, cultural shifts, and changes in consumer taste. A Nike shoe is still a physical product. It has a sole and upper price, and a specific function. But for many customers, the decision to wear Nike also communicates something less tangible. It can signal ambition, discipline, confidence, rebellion, belonging, or the desire to keep moving forward. That symbolic value has become central to the company's business. Nike itself has repeatedly described its growth in terms of building deep, personal connections with consumers. That language matters. It suggests the company does not treat branding as decoration added after a product is finished. The emotional relationship is part of the value being created. The scale of that value is visible in the market. Even during periods when Nike has faced slower sales, greater competition, and criticism over product execution, independent brand rankings have continued to place it among the strongest apparel brands in the world. Consumers may reconsider a specific model, but the wider meaning of the brand remains unusually resilient. This creates a difficult question. Are people buying Nike because the shoes are objectively better? Or are they buying the shoes because Nike helps them express something they already want to believe about themselves? The distinction matters because product advantages and identity advantages operate differently. A product advantage can be measured, compared, and eventually reproduced. A competitor can study the materials, analyze the design, improve the price, and offer similar performance. An identity advantage is harder to locate. It exists across years of athlete relationships, advertising, cultural memories, personal experiences, and social recognition. It is not contained inside the shoe, yet it can determine what the shoe means when someone wears it. That may explain why two products with similar features can produce very different reactions. One is evaluated as footwear. The other becomes part of a personal story. To understand how Nike reached that position, we have to look beyond the technology inside its shoes. We have to examine the moment the company began speaking less about what its products could do, and more about the kind of person who would choose to wear them. Nike did not become a global icon simply by making better shoes. In its early years, product innovation was absolutely essential. The company built its reputation by working closely with athletes, improving running footwear, and constantly experimenting with lighter materials, better cushioning, and more efficient designs. Performance created credibility. Without that foundation, everything that followed would have been far less convincing. However, performance alone placed Nike in a difficult competitive environment. Every major sportswear company was pursuing the same objective. Adidas invested heavily in innovation and professional sports. Reebok experienced explosive growth during the fitness boom of the 1980s. Puma continued building its presence across football, running, and lifestyle products. New competitors entered with fresh technologies, while established brands continuously improved manufacturing capabilities. In this kind of market, technological leadership rarely remains permanent. A breakthrough today often becomes an industry standard tomorrow. Better foam, improved traction, lighter fabrics, or more advanced manufacturing techniques eventually spread across the industry. Customers certainly value innovation, but innovation alone rarely creates decades of sustained competitive advantage. Nike gradually recognized that winning this race required something larger than building superior products. The company began expanding the meaning of sport itself. Instead of speaking only to elite athletes, Nike increasingly communicated with anyone who wanted to challenge themselves. Running became more than competition. Basketball became more than professional achievement. Training became more than physical exercise. Sport became a language for personal growth. This shift became especially visible with the launch of the Just Do It campaign in 1988. The slogan did not describe cushioning technology durability or engineering specifications. It spoke directly to human motivation. Its message was remarkably broad. You did not need to be an Olympic champion to understand it. You only needed to recognize the hesitation that appears before taking action. That decision fundamentally expanded Nike's potential audience. Instead of marketing only to people who already identified as athletes, the brand invited ordinary people to see themselves through the values associated with sport. The company's storytelling reflected this philosophy. Over the decades, Nike partnered with extraordinary athletes such as Michael Jordan, Serena Williams, Tiger Woods, Kobe Bryant, and many others. Yet these individuals were rarely presented simply as winners. Their stories emphasized persistent sacrifice, resilience, discipline, and the willingness to continue despite failure. The athletes represented ideas before they represented products. This distinction mattered because athletes eventually retire. Records are broken. Champions are replaced by new generations. If Nike's identity depended entirely on specific personalities, the brand would weaken every time the sports world changed. Instead, the athletes served as living examples of values the company wanted customers to associate with themselves. Academic research on consumer behavior provides an important perspective here. Studies have shown that brands often become meaningful when they connect with aspects of a person's identity. People do not always select products solely because of functional performance. They also choose products that reflect how they see themselves or how they aspire to be seen by others. Nike's communication consistently moved in that direction. Its campaigns changed with culture, different sports, and different generations, but the underlying message remained remarkably stable. The brand continued presenting movement ambition, determination, and self-improvement as qualities that anyone could pursue. By doing so, Nike was no longer competing only inside the footwear market. It was gradually occupying a place inside the personal narratives of millions of consumers. That shift would eventually become far more significant than any individual shoe the company ever released. Once Nike had established a consistent message, the next challenge was making that message believable. An inspiring slogan alone cannot build one of the world's largest brands. If consumers repeatedly encounter promises that are not supported by reality, the emotional connection eventually weakens. The company therefore needed a system that reinforced the same idea from multiple directions, allowing every interaction with the brand to strengthen the one before it. This was where Nike's strategy evolved beyond advertising. The first layer remained product innovation. Nike continued investing heavily in research, performance technology, and athlete testing because every story about determination still depended on products that could perform under real conditions. The emotional message attracted attention, but product credibility protected trust. The second layer was elite competition. Rather than treating sponsorships as simple endorsements, Nike used athletes as evidence that its philosophy could exist in the real world. Michael Jordan was not presented merely as someone wearing Nike shoes. He represented relentless ambition. Serena Williams embodied resilience under pressure. Kobe Bryant became associated with obsessive discipline. Different athletes represented different expressions of excellence, yet all reinforced the same underlying narrative. The third layer connected those stories with ordinary consumers. Nike rarely suggested that buying a pair of shoes would turn someone into a professional athlete. Instead, its campaigns consistently reduced the distance between world champions and everyday people by focusing on decisions, rather than achievements. Anyone could choose to begin training. Anyone could choose to continue after failure. Anyone could choose to challenge personal limits. The athletes demonstrated the possibilities. Consumers were invited to recognize those same values in their own lives. This approach transformed branding into an operating system rather than a marketing campaign. The company reinforced the same message through product launches, athlete partnerships, retail experiences, digital platforms, community events, and long-term storytelling. Individual advertisements came and went, but the larger narrative remained remarkably stable. Nike's own financial reporting reflects how seriously the company treats this capability. It consistently allocates enormous resources to what it calls demand creation, a category that includes brand marketing and sports marketing. In the second quarter of fiscal year 2025 alone, Nike reported approximately $1.1 billion United States dollars in demand creation expense. That level of investment illustrates that maintaining the meaning of the brand is treated as an ongoing business capability rather than an occasional advertising effort. Research in consumer psychology helps explain why this investment matters. Studies examining self-congruity suggest that consumers often respond positively to brands that align not only with who they currently are, but also with who they aspire to become. When a brand consistently reflects an individual's ideal self, purchasing decisions become more emotionally significant than simple comparisons of price or technical specifications. Nike continued reinforcing this connection even as culture evolved. In recent years, the company has refreshed the Just Do It platform for younger generations through campaigns such as Why Do It, while preserving the same fundamental themes of action, personal growth, and self-belief. The language changes. The athletes change. The media channels change. The central meaning remains recognizable. At this point, Nike's competitive position begins to look very different from that of a company selling footwear alone. Its products still matter enormously. Its engineering still matters. Its athletes still matter. But each of these elements now performs another function as well. Together, they strengthen a much larger system that extends far beyond the physical characteristics of any individual shoe. That raises an even more important question. If competing companies can develop comparable products, recruit elite athletes, and launch emotionally compelling campaigns, why has reproducing Nike's position proved so extraordinarily difficult? The answer becomes clearer once we stop thinking of Nike as a company that creates demand through emotional advertising. That explanation sounds intuitive, but it does not fully explain the evidence. Advertising can capture attention. It cannot permanently manufacture human motivation. People wanted confidence long before Nike existed. They wanted achievement, belonging, recognition, and personal growth long before they saw their first sports commercial. Those desires are deeply rooted in human psychology, not invented by marketing departments. Nike's real achievement was something different. The company learned how to give those existing aspirations a recognizable symbol. That distinction changes the entire way we understand branding. Instead of creating a new desire, Nike attached itself to desires that already existed. Instead of telling consumers what to want, it offered a visual language for expressing what they already wanted to become. A pair of shoes therefore performs two different functions at the same time. The first is obvious. It helps someone run, train, walk, or play sport. The second function is social and psychological. It communicates something about identity. Consumer behavior research helps explain why this matters. Studies examining self-brand connections have shown that people often develop meaningful relationships with brands when those brands become connected to important aspects of their self-concept. The product is no longer evaluated only by its functional performance. It also becomes part of how individuals define themselves and how they wish to be recognized by others. This is why copying Nike has proven so difficult. A competitor can reverse engineer a shoe. It can hire world-class designers. It can sponsor elite athletes. It can even produce emotionally powerful advertising. What it cannot quickly reproduce is the accumulated network of associations that has been built over decades. Every championship won by a Nike athlete, every memorable campaign, every cultural moment, every personal memory attached to the swoosh, every experience shared across generations. Together, these experiences create something that exists outside any individual product. That accumulated meaning becomes a competitive asset in its own right. The result is that consumers often compare more than technical specifications when they evaluate brands. They also compare symbolic value. They ask themselves, consciously or unconsciously, which brand better reflects the person they believe they are or the person they hope to become. That comparison cannot be measured with a laboratory test. It develops through years of repeated cultural reinforcement. At the same time, this does not mean symbolic value replaces product quality. The evidence actually points in the opposite direction. A powerful identity only survives when reality continues supporting the promise behind it. Nike's recent financial performance illustrates this limit. During fiscal year 2025, The company reported declining revenue across several major categories despite remaining one of the strongest apparel brands globally. Investors, consumers, and industry observers all recognized that a respected brand could not fully compensate for product challenges, execution issues, or changing market conditions. That is an important reminder. Identity creates resilience. It does not create immunity. A brand may persuade consumers to pay attention. It may encourage them to return. It may even justify premium pricing. But if innovation slows, products lose relevance, or customer expectations are repeatedly disappointed, symbolic value gradually weakens because it is no longer reinforced by experience. Seen from this perspective, Nike's long-term advantage was never simply better advertising or greater marketing budgets. Those investments mattered because they consistently connected authentic athletic performance with an identity consumers genuinely wanted to express. The company did not ask people to abandon reality. It gave reality a symbol that people could recognize, wear, and repeatedly confirm through their own experiences. Looking back, Nike's success becomes much easier to understand once the focus shifts away from the shoe itself. The company certainly manufactures athletic footwear. It certainly competes through innovation. It certainly invests heavily in research, elite athletes, and product development. None of those facts disappear. What changes is how those facts fit together. The products provide credibility. The athletes provide evidence. The stories provide meaning. And over time, each of those elements reinforces the others. That explains why Nike has been able to remain culturally relevant across multiple generations. Even though every generation grows up with different sports, different media platforms, and different public figures, the faces change. The products change. The technologies evolve. The central role of the brand does not. Consumers continue encountering a company that consistently represents movement, ambition, resilience, and personal progress, while updating the people and stories that carry those ideas into each new era. This also explains why competitors often underestimate the challenge. Many companies attempt to reproduce Nike by copying what is most visible. They hire celebrity athletes. They launch inspirational campaigns. They develop advanced products. Those investments are logical, but they often begin at the wrong point. The visible expressions of the brand are not the source of its strength. They are the result of decades spent building a consistent relationship between performance culture and personal identity. That relationship cannot be manufactured overnight because it depends on accumulated trust. Every generation inherits not only Nike's products, but also the cultural meaning attached to them by previous generations. That accumulated meaning becomes increasingly difficult to imitate. It also helps explain why products with comparable technical performance frequently produce very different commercial outcomes. Consumers are not always comparing only weight, cushioning, durability, or price. They are often comparing what ownership communicates about themselves. A product can solve a functional problem. A powerful brand can help express a personal narrative. Those two forms of value operate simultaneously. This perspective also reveals why Nike continues investing so heavily in innovation despite possessing one of the strongest brands in the world. The company understands that symbolic value cannot exist independently of reality. Each new generation must experience products that justify the meaning attached to the swoosh. Otherwise, the symbol gradually loses credibility. Brand identity therefore becomes something that must be continuously earned rather than permanently owned. Perhaps that is the most important way to understand Nike. The company's greatest asset is not a particular shoe, a famous athlete, or even a legendary advertising campaign. Its greatest asset is the ability to connect a physical product with an idea people genuinely want to express about themselves. That is why similar products remain difficult to compete against. The challenge is not reproducing the object. It is reproducing everything the object has come to represent. In the end, Nike does not replace the product with identity. It transforms the product into a visible expression of identity. And that may be the defining difference between a company that sells athletic shoes and a company that becomes part of how millions of people choose to define themselves.